Now comes the inevitable, unbridled rage rampage against the slow decline of Wheel of Time. I'm a little mixed. I think the episodes overall, I'm going to stress in general, were okay, but they do have very many jarring, bizarre moments. Probably one of the key problems with these episodes, in terms of the bad side, is the editing choices are baffling to just incompetent. Like one scene where Perrin seems to be in danger from animals. I think he's in danger from animals. We really don't know. It's very, very confusing. Like the physical space he's in is unclear. He may be in danger, maybe he's not. I'm actually literally confused about what the hell is happening. I have no problem with confusion if it's artistically done in a really interesting way, like David Lynch or even George Lucas. Stuff may be confusing, as they are in Star Wars or the Lynch universe, like Mulholland Drive. It's fine. Don't need absolute clarity. But it seems a lot of these episodes are needlessly convoluted and confusing, and they do have to do a lot in these episodes. So we're moving forward and learning more about the orders of the Aes Sedai, like the Red Ajas are really, really evil. We learn more about the Children of the Light and how vicious they are in just murdering women they think are Aes Sedai. And they're much more explicit about these various factions. Some of it is gripping, especially Valda. He is, I think, very striking, but he really just talks too much, and he's just way too explicit. So he's not a great villain like Lord Baelish or Pitter. Those people are way more subtle. Pitter or Littlefinger, when they're threatening, they don't literally come out and say, you know, I'd be willing to kill half of King's Landing just to have a little more power. They don't talk like that. I realize that Valda is kind of a prototype for the Sparrows, but I don't know. It just seems that this is good acting, but the dialogue is laughably atrocious. Some of this is in the books, but I think as Man Carrying Things has pointed out, for whatever reason, they took the guts of a lot of the book and threw it out. When Matt Rand are on their adventure with Thom, a lot of what made Thom distinctive or interesting, him being a musician and a hustler, is totally gone. Like I remember this sequence where they're boarding a pirate ship and they have to do this really interesting negotiating with the pirate to make sure they're not even thrown overboard. Now, I am not a big Robert Jordan fan. I only mildly like this story. I'm trying to work through the books carefully, but I gotta say, the storytelling is not very gripping to me. But nevertheless, he is right that a lot of critical plot points are being just shoved aside for I think these kind of fancy action scenes, especially with Moraine and Lan. They're just always setting up. Don't worry, they're talking, 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 but we're gonna get to a fancy fighting scene and her unleashing the magic, and we're gonna see the other Aes Sedai unleash the magic. Okay, but their production value here is not strong enough, so it just feels like cosplay. It's not laughable. It is quote well done. It just feels like very functional and like okay, we got to have an action scene. But for what it is, I think it was fine. I would agree with Man Carrying Thing where he says a lot of the problems here is they're trying to make something a mystery story, which is not a mystery. So when Logain is being introduced as the false dragon, and by the way, the books are kind of explicit on that. He is the false dragon. He's not the real dragon. Okay, that's fine. But then they make this whole thing about Logain. And is he the dragon? Is he not the dragon? Who is the dragon? And most book readers know Rand is the dragon. Rand is the dragon. Everything points to him being the dragon. It's not really a mystery. Why do you think it's a mystery? And Moraine is like, we lost them. Okay, are you going to try to find them? It just feels like that was a really bad decision to try to make a mystery and create false cliffhangers where you didn't need those false cliffhangers to pump up the drama because again, if you are following along, you're like, this is kind of lame as a story technique. It's not working very well. But overall, these still were decent episodes. Some of the production value shines, like the location shots, some of the costumes, even some of the makeup is very excellent. But then in other places, the production value declines markedly. I think people exaggerate that the middling episodes are super terrible. They seem okay enough, especially if you're into the characters. And I don't even care about the story or the characters, so I thought they were okay. But I will say, though, that the ending with Lan and how he's in a state of despair, is got to be one of the most laughable things I've ever seen. I think it's on par with Revenge of the Sith as one of the silliest, dumbest outbursts of pain and anger and sadness. I was like, I'm sure the actor doing Lan is actually a good person. He's not a bad actor, but that scene was just so spectacularly funny to me. I'm like, I hope it wasn't intentional comedy, but I gotta say, that's why I think the episodes they are laughably enjoyable. But I think in the long term they are doing damage to the story. But they are entertaining, but not I think in the way they want it to be entertaining, because I think they're going for a serious Game of Thrones kind of vibe, but they're turning it into a more kind of silly vibe of a parody of what a fantasy series should be.